Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Seth.
And I'm Zach.
And we're the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right. We are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's
That's right.
We are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
We are the Classic
That's
Gaming
right.
Brothers. That's right.
Just keep doing that over and over again until the end of the episode.
We do that for roughly 45 minutes, and then we close out by saying, don't play games like my brother.
To be fair, probably add more value to people's lives than what our normal episodes do.
I feel bad for the people that fall asleep to our podcast, because I feel like that would just be obnoxious to wake up here and people go, that's right.
They can turn it down real low, and then they can count the that's rights, and then they can fall asleep. It'll be like counting sheep. It'll be good.
I'm assuming people fall asleep to our podcast, because I think we did once get feedback where someone said, you guys have a soothing voice.
I assume people only listen to fall asleep to the podcast. Except for those who listen to us while they commute. I know that there are people who listen to us while they commute. Hopefully you're not falling asleep. These audiences of people who listen to us to fall asleep and those who listen to us to commute, those audiences need to stay separate. You should not be commuting while you're sleeping.
Absolutely not. Only to your dream job.
Oh, that'd be horrible. Dreamed about going to work.
No, I just dream about going to school.
Still?
Yeah. It's apparently related to stress and anxiety.
You know, I haven't had a really good vivid dream lately.
Have you not been taking your melatonin?
Oh no, I do that regularly, so I don't know.
Okay. Because melatonin gives me the weirdest dreams.
No, maybe my dose is too low, but anyway.
I've had some fun dreams. My favorite dream that I've ever had in my entire life, that it's always a dream that I remember. In the dream, I was at a wedding and I was up at the altar standing next to the groom and the bride, as I was like the best man at the wedding, and the priest came by and he started doing communion, and then he stopped at me and he said, "You don't get any, you're a horse." And I said, "What?" And then all of a sudden I turned into a horse.
You know, in some civilizations, they've been counselors of Rome. So, what was that? Nero's horse, right? No, was it Castiglia's horse? And Nero was the one that burned the city down. I don't think Nero also... Did Nero put the horse on a council, or that was Castiglia?
It was Caligula.
Caligula.
Roman Emperor Caligula had a favorite
enough.
horse. That was his council.
That's right. I knew it wasn't Nero. Nero did a lot of silly things, like burning the city, or playing the violin while the city burned. Caligula was decidedly a little on the nut side.
Its name was Incitatus, which meant at full gallop.
And he was known to be a little out there.
Caligula?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they made a movie about him that is rated NC-17 because of how out there he was.
I haven't seen a lot of NC-17 movies lately. Not like I haven't seen them. I mean, I just
Not
haven't seen them on the market.
Yeah, you always line them up around Christmas time. You're like,
I only
gotta watch Cannibal Holocaust and Caligula.
Yeah. I only watch NC-17 because that's what I thought you had to watch. I thought, and when I was a kid, I thought there'd be more like NC-17 movies. Do you remember the images of the people who are allowed? And then we can get into the episode. But like in a movie theater, there were like pictures of people who could go to different movies. Like it was like a cartoon, and so it'd be like, gee, general audience, and there'd be like kids and a giraffe, and then it'd be like the rated R had like parents and stuff like that. Then it said like NC-17, and it was like a man in his trench coat, and he was like, looks like he was going off to the movies.
It is very close to that.
Yeah, he's like going off to the movies to do some nefarious act, and that's why he's going to an NC-17 movie. It's like a sexual predator and like old guy or something like that. Did you post it?
I put it in episode notes.
Oh yeah. Oh, because the mom and the dad can go see every movie. That's why they're in everything. But then
he's not in a trench coat. He's in a Letterman jacket, but he does look shifty.
Also, is he supposed to be the same guy who's seeing the R-rated movie? No, because he looks
so.
like he's different. No, because he's got brown hair.
He does look different. Yeah.
So it's just some random guy who doesn't like to see any other movies except NC-17 movies.
Well, you know.
And I like that the rabbit is sneaking in because it's clearly not old enough to go see rated R movies, and is getting hidden in his eyes for PG-13. But then he puts on sunglasses and he sneaks into movies.
I like in the PG-13 picture where there is a child who looks slightly older than the other child, but is dressed like Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, he looks like a psychopath. That child looks like he will kill you with a knife. And so if you want to know what we're talking about, since we're a podcast and you can't actually see what we're looking at, go look up movie rating pictures.
It's called Why Everyone Should Know About the Movie Rating System. Look up that as a poster, and it should pop up. It's illustrated, and there's probably a Reddit post, as well as someone selling it.
Anyway, Zach, what have you recently been playing?
Seth, I've recently been playing a game that you were playing some time ago. I couldn't remember when you actually were playing this game, but I've been playing Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, developed by Auric Digital and published by Focus Entertainment in 2023. It's based on the world of Warhammer 40k, where you play as a lone space marine who has to barrel through areas overrun by chaos, space marines, and chaos demons. I like it a lot. I'm someone who does not know a ton about Warhammer lore, besides the fact that I think it looks cool, and I know that there's a lot of crossover between its lore and like elements of Dune, because Dune came first and they were heavily inspired by it. So these are the things I know about Warhammer 40k. Space Marines are really buff, well, because they're in the big suits.
Well, they're also big men.
Orcs are made of fungus.
Yes.
And the movie, is it Event Horizon, is supposed to be set in the same canon as Warhammer 40k. So basically the creator of Event Horizon wanted to make a Warhammer movie but couldn't get the rights to Warhammer. So in Event Horizon, they are developing faster than light speed, and the only way to achieve it is by entering a parallel universe that is hell.
Oh, the warp.
Yes, and the creator of the movie has said, this is the warp. I am not like, he's like, this isn't like a reference to the warp. This is the warp. It's set in the 40k universe.
That's fun.
Those are the things I know about 40k and the stuff that Seth's told me. But I like the game a lot. It's a very hectic boomer shooter that's heavily inspired by classic Doom as well as the modern Doom games. You start out with the chainsword, which is my favorite weapon so far, even after I've picked up the bolt gun. The chainsword I love because it is overpowered and it locks onto enemies when you hold it down, meaning you can jump into the air, lock onto an enemy, and basically slingshot toward them at full speed with your chainsword revving at full click. And it is very frenetic. I found myself like, there was this one area where there was like a chaos space marine in the center of this platform, and I like charged at him, jumped into the air, shot him, then like almost fell off the edge, but slingshot my way back toward him using the chainsword, and then finally like got him in a final blow. And that was just for funsies. I didn't have to do that, but it's because the game has a lot of verticality that it allows you to do stuff like that. Which I think it pulls heavily from the more recent Doom games from Bethesda. But yeah, overall, I really like Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, and it makes me want to play more Warhammer games, which is always good. I do own a bunch. I own like Dawn of War, but I especially want to pick up Space Marine 2 because I heard it's co-op, and I think me and Seth should become brothers, not just in life, but as Space Marines in the Imperium, and we should kill off all the Chaos Demons that are around us.
And the Xenos. And the Heretic. There's one more, because I think the demons fall under the Heretic. Oh, the Mutant.
Suffer not the alien, the mutant, the Heretic.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like Orcs fall in the Xenos category. What's falling in the Mutant category?
Orcs or Xenos?
Oh, it's probably the Gene Stealer cult is probably mutants.
Mutants are also, there's like millions of mutants. Like, it's not.
Yeah. They also recruit them. Like the Ogrims are kind of like mutants, but they serve in the Imperial Guard.
Yeah. I like the aesthetic of Warhammer. I think it's fun. I understand it's grimdark, but I also think it is kind of silly, despite it being grimdark. Like, yeah, there's elements of it that are very silly.
It's a very, very silly grimdark world, and I think it's very encapsulated by there's actually a planet that you can find in Rogue Trader where you could go down and you can make a choice, and you could have the choice to be like, oh, this planet is lost, we should just kill everybody, which happens in Warhammer. They just blow up planets. Or they're like, oh, we could go down and rescue and like reinforce the planet. The option in the game either gives you a magical Warhammer if you destroy the planet. If you go down to rescue it, it becomes a colony. So you're completely locked out of a colony if you just sort of like destroy the planet. And somebody's like, it's a very Warhammer 40k decision to be like, you either get a weapon or an entire planet. But it's like one or the other.
But yeah, that's Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun. I've been really liking it. And yeah, that's what I've been recently playing. Seth, what about you? What have you been recently playing?
Recently, I've been playing Call of the Elder Gods, which was released in May 12th of 2026. It was developed by Out of the Blue Games and published by Coley. It's a sequel to Call of the Sea, and you play as both Harry Everhart, who is the husband of Nora Everhart from Call of the Sea game, who was the main character in that game, and you tag off with the other character that you play as Evangeline Drayton, who is the daughter of Harry's friend who joined him on the original game. Spoiler alert, she does not have her father anymore, possibly because of Call of the Sea. Also, Nora's not around anymore, possibly because of Call of the Sea. So they're just kind of two lost souls that come together. Not in any, like in a very fatherly daughter way, not in any sort of weird way. And they go and explore to kind of track down some of the occult they get involved with. They attend Evangeline's school that Harry Everhart's a teacher of, is Miskatonic University, and it's set in Massachusetts, and they get involved into very Cthulhu-esque things. It's not a scary Call of Cthulhu game. Neither Call of the Sea was also like a Call of Cthulhu game, but they're both not scary. They're kind of they have like mystery to them, but they're not like scary mystery, just like odd mystery, because sometimes Call of Cthulhu games can be scary, and that's not what these are going for. So you have to go through and kind of explore different parts of the area and different parts of the earth to try and find the answer to this puzzle that has ties to Lovecraft and Call of Cthulhu. So far, it's been really good. They've done a lot of quality of life improvements since Call of the Sea that I'm really happy to see implemented in Call of the Elder Gods. I think they do a good job with when they switch characters, and like good jobs with like being able to highlight certain things and interact with like the journal and be able to keep track of like the way that they incorporated the various different elements of the gameplay is, I think, just better in the sequel, which is great. And this is a good time actually to note, and also because we are going to be talking about an adventure game, but we mentioned in our last episode of Adventure Gamers, or our last episode, the episode before last, I think maybe?
Episode before last. We talked about
King's Quest.
Yeah,
so when we talk about King's Quest, and now we're going to be talking about the Thin Blue Line Quest.
Police Quest, yeah.
Police Quest. It's the yin to the yang of King's Quest. We mentioned Adventure Gamers becoming crap after they got purchased by a casino and now do slot reviews. I do want to say that there is a website that is trying to be the successor to Adventure Gamers, and that is Adventure Game Hotspot. So it's Adventure Game, then Hotspot, all one word. So Adventure and then Game, and then the thing that appear on dogs' legs if they lick too hard, hotspots. And then, so just check them out. So far, the website's been, like, I've been really enjoying the website. I think it's been, like, a pretty good interface. They have a lot of reviews. They have previews. They have, like, the hypometer and stuff like that. So it's very much feels like Adventure Gamers prior to the casino purchase.
Cool. Well, yeah, as Seth alluded to, we are going to be talking about the next game of our Quest games series. So I thought we'd split these out over the course of the next few episodes. So next episode, we won't be doing Space Quest. We'll probably do something else, and then we'll follow that up with Space Quest. So we'll have a little bit of buffer between the Sierra game titles. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Police Quest in this episode. Before we get into the history, we, of course, always talk about our memories. I have no memories of Police Quest. I don't think I've played any of them. I did have friends that were into one of the SWAT games, but I never played it personally. I just think one of my friends was really into SWAT 4 for a bit and maybe tried to get me to play it, and I just never got it. But Seth, what about you? What thoughts you have or memories about the Police Quest series?
I definitely tried to play them, at least the first one. I have to play things in order. It's a really bad habit because sometimes the first games aren't that great. And I just remember the first game being very obtuse, where you needed to do like certain things around your cop car before leaving. So like you had to go and check the tires, and you had to go in a very specific order, and if you didn't do everything in the right order, you'd like your car would just like explode or something. So just silly. It's a very like 90s adventure game type of failing. I definitely would recommend if you want to check out the original Police Quest, and maybe even some of the earlier ones after the original. Like, don't feel bad if you need to read a guide. Some of these early 90s adventure games are sometimes really obtuse. I just think about like even Gabriel Knight, which is one of my favorite adventure games, has that stupid cat puzzle where you have to grab like maple syrup and like put it on like tape, and then put the tape on a wall, and then spritz a cat, and then the cat rubs his hair on the tape, then you put the tape on your nose, and then you have to get like an athletic hat. You have to get a cap from the Lost and Found, and you have to get a guy's sports blazer. You have to steal a sports blazer from your cop buddy. You have to do all this stuff to like literally go through one dialogue, and it is the most annoying puzzle in the entire world, trying to figure it out without a guide. So I say no shame in using a guide, especially when the puzzles are super obtuse.
So to get into today's episode, in terms of the history of Police Quest, just a few episodes ago, we talked about King's Quest and the important legacy it left on gaming. It was thanks to King's Quest that style of adventure games became linked to Sierra Online. And King's Quest really, while not the first adventure game, I think really helped define the genre. A lot of adventure games that came out after King's Quest took a lot of elements from King's Quest. During this time, Sierra wasn't just working on King's Quest. After they developed the adventure game interpreter, they put out a few other titles that use this engine. One of these would be the game series Police Quest. Development on Police Quest went back to Ken Williams, who for a period of time wanted to develop a game set in the world of policing. He had envisioned that they would be able to get an actual police officer to work on the game, as they wanted it to be accurate to policing as a whole. And him being a game developer and having zero experience with policing, knew that he wouldn't be able to do a game that he wanted to make justice. In 1985, Ken would meet the person who would help him achieve his goal, Jim Walls. Jim Walls was a former California Highway Patrol officer who was injured in the line of duty. While conducting a routine traffic stop in 1984, a shootout occurred. Jim would develop post-traumatic stress disorder from the incident and be placed on administrative leave, and then fully retired in 1986 from the CHP. Ken would ask Jim if he was comfortable writing about his experiences working for the CHP, and Jim said sure. He would. And he began writing out what would become the first draft of the plot of Police Quest. The story ended up getting large enough that they were able to turn this draft into a design document, and soon this design document was given to the developers at Sierra, who got to work at turning Jim's writings into a video game. Because of the fact that the story was largely based on Jim's writings, a good chunk of the plot of the original Police Quest is, per Jim, based on actual experiences that he went through.
The plot of Police Quest follows Officer Sonny Bonds, named after Jim's son Sonny, a patrol officer for the Lytton Police Department or Lytton?
It's a fictional town, so I don't know. I think it's
Lytton, California. Officer Sonny is assigned to traffic duty and told to be on the lookout for a stolen Cadillac. He then responds to an accident where he finds a notorious drug dealer, Lonnie West, shot dead with a bullet to the head. He turns the case over to his sergeant, but gets pulled back into the case after encountering a sex worker who's connected to the crime ring and Lonnie's murder. Officer Sonny gets promoted to detective in the narcotics division and is assigned to the case, teams up with Finn Tutuola, and they go... I bet all these people have perfect recall whenever they're witnesses that are investigated.
And they go to a bar and the witness they're talking to is in the middle of work and he doesn't stop work. He just continues wiping down one spot on the bar top.
That's right. And has perfect recall of everybody who's went into the bar during the last 6 hours. Or they meet the guy outside with the garbage, able to recall perfectly what happened in the 10 seconds he took his garbage out.
The police officer's like, hey, have you think you can step aside and talk to us? And the guy's like, I'm busy. I'm about to open up for dinner.
The first Police Quest game, known as Police Quest In Pursuit of the Death Angel, would be released in 1987 for the IBM PC, the Apple II, the Apple II GS, the Atari ST, and the Amiga. The game would go on to be later to be ported to the Sierra Creative Interpreter, the SCI engine in 1992, giving it VGA graphics, which we talked about back with King's Quest. The original version was done in the AGI engine, and it plays similar to the original King's Quest, with it being a point-and-click adventure game. As such, it has the usual quirks of an AGI game, such as requiring you to unholster your weapon before firing it, as failing to do so will result in you shooting yourself in the leg because these games are obtuse. You could also end up dying due to failing to follow procedure, such as giving your car a once-over before you leave. There's also a driving mechanic, as you must drive the car between locations, and it's not great. There's you have to do a trick in order to catch people, because there's a police chase that you have to do in the game, and you have to line stuff up. You have to figure out what the exploit is in order to be able to even beat the police chase, because it is not fun. The first game was received well. One of the reviews at the time from Computer Gaming World said that graphics were the most terrific this reviewer had ever seen. Reviews also praised the realism and accuracy to actual policing procedurals. It was even noted to have been used as a training tool for some police officers. Yes, Police Quest, the video game, was what perhaps some police officers were trained on. Also, I've learned Law and Order is also something that the police officers watch to figure out what they need to do. So I just think it's fun that there is media that is designed to be entertained is used by police to figure out how to do their jobs. In 1988, the team at Sierra began to work on the sequel, Police Quest II: The Vengeance. Jim Walls would continue working on the game series. The game style shifted a bit with the focus on more forensic and detective work. As such, you are required to follow the protocols with collecting evidence. One change to the gameplay would be that the car segments are now automatic and you don't require you to actually control the vehicle, which is why sometimes I just need to get over myself and just play games in later series, because sometimes there's something super frustrating in a game that everybody recoiled back in the 80s about hating, and they wrote it out in the second game, which... yeah.
Police Quest 2 would utilize the SCI engine as opposed to the AGI engine and feature a text parser that could also interpret shortcuts. For those who might not know, a text parser is a gameplay tool used in adventure games that require you to type out your actions. This can be a two-word phrase like take book or go left, and is largely a holdover from the era of text adventures. The plot follows Detective Sonny Bonds, assigned to escort Jesse Baines, a drug lord, to a retrial. Baines takes a prison guard hostage while being kept in jail and escapes. Your job is to collect evidence and locate the missing Baines. Fun fact, Jesse Baines was in fact based on a real-life escaped criminal who was actively loose at the time of the game's release in 1988.
Nice. And what if he played
I hope
Police
he
Quest?
played Police Quest 2, yeah, and I hope he was like, oh, this is how I escaped them.
Oh.
Police Quest 2 would be released for the IBM PC, Amiga, Atari ST, and brought to the NEC PC 9801 in Japan. The Japanese release featured redrawn art giving the characters more anime-style eyes, and I looked it up, it is not very well done. Redrawn art, but I guess they wanted the characters to look more like they're in an anime, so they made the eyes a little bigger and a little more cartoony, and it's kind of silly looking. Police Quest 2 was well received. Computer Gaming World gave it a glowing review that said, the advanced graphics, intriguing story, and flowing animation makes this story come alive. The whole package leads us toward a new apex in interactive game fiction. The publication Atari ST user called it excellent in every respect. The graphics, plot, detail, humor, and storytelling are all first-rate quality.
Police Quest 3, The Kindred, would follow in 1991 and would be the last Police Quest title to be based on the writing of Jim Walls. Walls' version of the story would actually be unfinished, as he had to leave due to unclarified circumstances, and Jane Jensen would be brought in to finish the game's story because she was getting to be one of the most trusted writers at Sierra. The plot continues the stories of Detective Sonny Bonds, now returning to the city of Lighton, California, with his wife and taking on the position of the sergeant of the Lighton Police Department, the very role that he brought the original case to. Now he's that sergeant. He is assigned a patrol due to short staffing and is called to a stabbing incident that involved his wife. She becomes comatose as a result of the stabbing, and Sonny decides to hunt down the attackers, all within the confines of the law. The ordeal ends up linking the attackers to a satanic drug cartel cult, this is where Jay Jensen, I assume, started writing.
Yeah.
And the corruption in the Whiten Police Department. The game would be developed in the SCI engine, but not use a text parser, and instead would be completely mouse-driven system. And this is like my favorite type of Sierra version of adventure games. I think the text parsers are kind of annoying. I don't mind because it would have the texts that were common parsed down at the bottom. You select them with your mouse.
Yeah, you chose the text parser.
Yeah. I don't particularly like writing commands out personally. The game would be released in 1991 for the IBM PC and the Amiga with a Sega CD port planned, but that Sega CD port would be canceled. The reviews for Police Quest 3 were mostly positive. Computer Gaming World once again hit it with praise, causing it the best of the series to date and praising the mouse controls. Amiga User International gave the game a 91%. Dragon Magazine, however, was more critical, giving the game 2 out of 5 stars.
Now, following Jim's departure from Sierra would decide that they want to reach out to another police officer to work on these Police Quest games. They were doing well. They were making money. So they decided to reach out to Los Angeles Police Department Chief Daryl F. Gates. I should also clarify, former Los Angeles Police Department Chief Daryl F. Gates. Daryl Gates is an interesting figure with a very long history. He is credited as being the creator of the Special Weapons and Tactics Unit, aka the SWAT team. He also co-founded the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program, aka DARE, and he was also controversial in his policies. His policies often targeted people of color using racist rhetoric, and he's even cited in the Christopher Commission Report of 1991 as part of a culture of excessive force and poor supervision that led to the beating of Rodney King and the subsequent riots. I want to make sure to let you all know that people knew all this about Daryl Gates before Sierra approached him. Sierra saw all this and said, this is the man we want to work with.
That's right.
To be fair, Daryl Gates was probably pretty free. Was not a busy man.
No, right? Because he was relieved from duty.
He resigned because it was recommended he resign from a report on what the LAPD could do to better themselves after the Rodney King riots. Sierra said, this guy's going to help us make a game, and sure enough, he did. With the development of the 1993 Police Quest Open Season. For a man responsible for the Rodney King riots, who created the SWAT team, is sure picked a title. Daryl Gates would have his name credited on the box of the game. So when you buy the game, it says Daryl Gates' Police Quest Open Season. Most of the game's creation and plot and script, however, came from Tammy Dargan, who wrote and designed the game. Tammy had experience writing crime stuff. She wrote for America's Most Wanted, the television show, and was already, I think, familiar with Gates, and I think had worked with him before. Daryl would reportedly provide Tammy with notes, though later would claim that he was not involved in the game's story at all, and all the ideas and complaints that people lobbed at the game came from Tammy directly. Gates did, however, suggest that the game shifted its story from the fictional Lighton, California to the real-world Los Angeles. Out was Sonny Bonds, and in was a new character, LAPD robbery homicide detective John Kerry, spelled differently than the presidential hopeful.
In the game, Detective John Kerry is assigned a homicide in South Central. He believes the murder is a gang-related killing, but soon discovers that it may be the workings of a serial killer. Oh, Police Quest 3? This is 4?
This is 4.
Oh, another serial killer.
Yeah.
The game features FMV sequences, digitized actors for sprites, and the release came with an actual LAPD policy handbook as the manual. The game received mixed positive reviews at the time, being called very good by White Wolf, given a B+ by Electronic Games, and a 2 out of 5 from Next Generation. Reviews were positive towards the accuracy of police procedural details, but felt that the subject matter was overall disturbing. In fact, it wasn't just referred to as disturbing, but even referred referred to as discriminatory against black men. In the Journal of African American Men in 1997, an article titled The Social Construction and Social Marketing of the quote-unquote Dangerous Black Man by Randolph Potts noted that the game, Police Quest 4 specifically, portrayed black men as dangerous criminals and indicated that the language used for black character was an Amos and Andy style speech.
Yeah, and for those unfamiliar, Amos and Andy was a basically minstrel show. So, needless to say, Police Quest Open Season is a controversial game and is still regarded as controversial. But that doesn't deter Sierra from making more Police Quest games or stopping work with Daryl Gates, because they kept working with him. In fact, the fifth Police Quest game would continue to be overseen by Daryl Gates and would be a major shift in the game series. It would be the first Police Quest game to be given the SWAT subtitle, which would remain with the series going forward. Development would pull from Daryl Gates' experience with the development and implementation of the SWAT unit in LA. Though, with your expected created liberties in place, it is in fact a Sierra game, so there's like cults and stuff involved. The game was built in the SCI-2 engine and relies heavily on FMV sequences. You go through training in various missions, such as apprehending dangerous individuals, from burglars to terrorists. The game has mixed positive reception. Next Generation would be fairly critical, giving it a 2 out of 5 and calling it overly ambitious. PC Gamer was a bit more positive, giving it a 70%, and PC Zone was even more positive, giving it an 83 out of 100. It also sold fairly well, and by 1996, the combined sales of all of the Police Quest games surpassed 1.2 million units. Between January and July of 1998, Police Quest SWAT sold upward to 152,000 units in the US alone. By 2000, SWAT alone had sold 1 million units.
So people like SWAT games. The sixth Police Quest game would keep the SWAT subtitle because they realized that was successful and act as a follow-up to the first SWAT game. Police Quest SWAT 2 also was a dramatic departure from the previous games in the series. Gone was the adventure game elements that defined Sierra, and in was a real-time tactics game akin to like Desperados. You take control of a commander and required to order your team into a scenario. You select which units you want to deploy via a selection screen, which provides you various information and stats. Much of the skills are related to marksmanship, with certain weapons or experience in areas like EMT or K9. The game also has different support abilities such as negotiations, calling air support, or requesting sniper coverage. The plot follows Chief John D. Souza, who deploys a SWAT team across LA to deal with various crimes. This includes riots, robberies, and clashes with terrorist military cults. I feel like it involves responding to riots, which clearly SWAT had some purpose around, right? That's kind of like what SWAT's used for. Robberies, like jewelry store robberies, and then like Cobra.
Cobra!
That's a terrorist military cult.
I was thinking about it just a moment ago. I was thinking, why do all these games have militia cults in them? Then I realized, these games were developed in the 90s. Waco was 93.
Oh, yes, that's fair.
So...
And that was a terrorist militia cult.
That was a terrorist militia cult. So,
topical.
Yeah, it was topical at the time. So,
some of the events in Police Quest SWAT 2 depicted in the game were based on real events, such as the 1997 North Hollywood shootout. There's also a campaign where you can play as the cult and reenact your own Waco. Upon release in 1998, the game received mixed reviews. IGN gave it a 7 out of 10, GameSpot gave it a 5.7 out of 10, and Game Informer gave it a 6 out of 10. People criticized the micromanagement of the game as well as the computer's AI. The game did sell pretty well though, with over 400,000 units selling by late 1999. I like how the game has evolved from bureaucracy to violence.
And to violence it would continue, because the last game to actually use the Police Quest title would be Police Quest SWAT 2. The following game would just be called SWAT 3, Close Quarters Battle, dropped Police Quest entirely, and it also changed the gameplay style again, this time to a first-person shooter. As the games no longer carry the Police Quest title, they're no longer Quest games, and thus, they are technically unrelated to the rest of this episode. But to be fair, there's only SWAT 3, Close Quarters Battles, and then SWAT 4, and they're their own games, right? They are so far removed from the original Police Quest, it's kind kind of hard to want to loop them into the rest of this. But as we do with like a legacy wrap up, you had SWAT 3 Close Quarters Battle. Then in 2003, you had SWAT Global Strike Team, which was released on console, PS2 and Xbox. SWAT 4 came out on PC in 2005 and would be the last officially numbered SWAT game, as there then would be various spin-offs on mobile and handheld. So there's like a PSP game and there's a couple of mobile games. SWAT 4, though, is popular. I mean, it still has a community today that plays it, and it heavily inspired games like Ready or Not, which I think have their own community associated to it. And I would say having a game like SWAT 4 likely at some point helped extend to having a game like Rainbow Six Siege, which takes a lot of elements from that kind of tactical first-person shooter, eliminating threats, but doing it in a certain way sort of deal. Again, I don't want to go too in detail about the SWAT games because A, we can easily follow it up with a future episode talking just about the SWAT games if people are interested, but also they're not Police Quest games. SWAT 3 and SWAT 4 are definitively just SWAT, and again, very removed from the original games.
To be honest, once they started changing it to like a tactical type of game, it stopped.
But it still had Police Quest in the title, so
yeah, but it was decidedly not Police Quest anymore.
No, very far removed. Outside of SWAT, in 1992, Jim Wales released a game called Blue Force, a spiritual successor to his Police Quest games, which I guess his departure with Sierra is not very clear. According to his blog post, he just wrote that he left Sierra due to personal conflict. And I don't know if it was conflict with Sierra or his own personal life. But he definitely wanted to continue working on this story, so he created Blue Force. He also attempted to make a new game in 2013 through a Kickstarter project called Precinct, though this would unfortunately fail. And since then, there really hasn't been a lot of movement in the SWAT games, in returning to Police Quest in any way, and it's been pretty quiet on both of those fronts. I think there has also been an attempt to make another SWAT game, make like SWAT 5 through Kickstarter, but I don't think that ever really panned out. So with that, that's going to close out our history of the Police Quest games, unless Seth has something to contribute to the conversation.
So in 2014, Activision reactivated the Sierra Entertainment label, so they're possibly holding the franchise.
Getting into our retro rewinds, Seth had me play Universal Soldier for the Super Nintendo. This was tough because that game never came out. The prototype is available to play online. There is a prototype ROM, which I did play. Universal Soldier was in fact just the localization of Turrican 2. It was intended to be Turrican 2, but tied into the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Universal Soldier, which was popular. The Genesis and Game Boy versions of Universal Soldier did come out. These were released, but the SNES version would be canceled due to cost issues with creating the cartridge. But again, as mentioned, a prototype ROM was released, and it plays like Turrican 2, which is a fine shooter platformer. It's no Contra, but it holds up in its own right. The unfinished version of Universal Soldier for the SNES arguably doesn't quite hold up because it has a lot of unfinished assets. A lot of the enemies are just your sprite, but repeated. So sometimes you're just shooting guys that look like you, but also it's unreleased. So it in fact cannot hold up because you technically cannot revisit it. You can't go to the store and buy Universal Soldier if you wanted to see if this game holds up. It is a prototype, but the Genesis game, again, is basically just Turrican 2, but with a coat of paint to make it Universal Soldier. Next week, Seth, you can play Holy Diver for the NES.
Thank you, Zach. I did look up Jim Walls while you were talking about the game that I had you play that didn't exist, and he did go to work for Westwood Studios and worked on a few games with them as a designer.
Yeah, Jim Walls, he had a website for a while called, it's unfortunately his website looks like it's very outdated and it does not load properly, but it's called Jim Walls Reloaded. And when you click on the link to his website, it just shows a police car speeding at the camera with blinky lights, and then you press enter, and then the screen goes black and you can't go anywhere.
Wild background for him, going from a police officer to working at Westwood Studios making Beyond Earth, or what is it? The
Earth and Beyond?
Earth and Beyond, yeah.
He also made, he worked on Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And Pirates, The Legend of the Black Cat. He definitely had an interest in, like, cyberpunk because while he was with Sierra, he created Codename Iceman, which is kind of a cyberpunk graphical adventure.
He like, chose a path of, like, cyberpunk stuff instead of like submarines or World War II.
Yeah.
Zach had me play Jill of the Jungle, which was developed by Tim Sweeney himself of Epic Games. And it was thus developed and published by Epic Games, which they were operating as Epic Mega Games at the time, and was released in 1992. Jill of the Jungle was a game that Tim designed to show that action platformers can actually work on PC as well as home console, which is where they were predominantly on. As much as my opinions of Tim personally have ebbed and flowed due to Epic Games and their exclusivity push and all of that jazz, I will have to say that Tim has always championed PC gaming, and I can respect that. Jill of the Jungle ends up going into being a trilogy starring Jill, who was at the time a standout female character because in 1992 they were few and far between, and comparable game at the time would be games like Commander Keen coming out of id Software. The controls were, for Jill of the Jungle, simple and tight, and they still hold up today. I played through Jill of the Jungle since Zach told me to, and it reminded me of playing like a game in the computer lab back in the day. It's just simple, it works, there's fun references to other games sprinkled throughout the game, including Commander Keen, and the platform and weapons are pretty cool. I particularly enjoyed the boomerang knife that you get, where it you can throw it out and it comes back to you, and if you throw it too low, it could get stuck in a pit and you can't get it back. So I think it definitely holds up. And next week, Zach, you could play, I was going to pick another Jean-Claude Van Damme game, but it's on the PSX, and I'm not sure if you actually can play the PSX games.
You've also had me play this. I'm looking at the notes. I think you already have me play this game.
Street Fighter the movie?
Yeah.
I had you play Street Fighter the movie?
I'm pretty sure.
You could play Alien Breed Tower Assault for MS-DOS.
All right, sounds good. I'll play Alien Breed Tower Assault. That sounds like a tower defense game, and I hate those.
Sounds like it might be an original tower defense game.
Well, so that will do it for our episode. That will do it for our Police Quest episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you have any memories playing Police Quest, or you want to hear us do an episode about the SWAT games, and we'll just focus on SWAT, let us know. You can do so by emailing us at classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com. We're available wherever podcasts can be found, be it Podbean, iTunes, or iHeartRadio. We're available on our Patreon. Look us up, Classic Gaming Brothers. We're available on our social media, CG Brothers Pod or Classic Gaming Brothers. We're also available on Twitch. We haven't streamed in forever, but we're there. And we're on YouTube. Like and subscribe. With that, Seth, am I forgetting anything?
Don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother.
I've been Seth.
And I've been Zach.
And we've been the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right.
That's right.